Pendleton MedTech Voice. I'm here with the founders of MedRep Academy in Atlanta, Georgia. Jayke, Milton, Travis, Alston. Great to see you, boys.
Likewise.
Yeah, good to see you, Jay.
Thanks for having me out. So, kick it off for me. Give an introduction of your background, kind of like where you came up. I know you've got a lot of experience, more than me, in spine, and Jayke as well. You've got a lot of experience in this industry. So, just for the audience, just let's start there.
Yeah, washed up athlete, retired in baseball at 24 years old. Played with the Phillies in their minor league system, and I didn't want to raise a family that way. I felt like I could do better in the business world than I could in the sports world, and so retired. My wife and I love the people in Alabama. We're both from Orlando, Florida. We moved to Birmingham. We just love the people there, and so got a job working for Medtronic with their distributor there. His name was Gene Robinson, and started working there. Ended up in Huntsville, Alabama, and worked for Medtronic for almost 5 years, and then went to Globus as a distributor, and was there 1 year, and they decided to go direct in my area. Took a job with Synthes as a consultant, and then after 5 years there, started my own business. And my business partner at the time, and I grew it quite a bit, and then I ended up basically selling that piece to him on a sweetheart deal for him, and it was a great situation for both of us. It was time for me to do something different, so picked up, moved here to Atlanta, worked for J&J as a consultant on the spine side, and after 3 years, started my own thing again, and Jayke and I ran into each other competing against each other as distributors, and we've been together. October of 22 is when we joined up, and it's been an incredible run that we've had. We're about as different as you can be, two people can be, but it's worked really, really well. And I said I would never have another business partner, but I think when we started talking, we're so different and we bring such different things to the table. It really worked out. So yeah, built a really good organization, and then Jayke had this idea for the school because we had we've grown so fast and hired so many people. We have run into some of the other training programs out there, and we just felt like there was nothing preparing these prospective employees. And so Jay came up with the idea for MedRep Academy. We spent quite a bit of money putting it all together, and so now we've had our first run, and it's going really well, and
it's awesome.
And we believe in it so much, and the our candidates that are out there working now are doing great.
Awesome.
It wouldn't be that way if it wasn't for the training that Jayke has put together. I've been a part of it as well, but the amount of time and effort he spent on this academy has just been incredible.
We'll get into that. Tell me about your background, Jayke.
Sure. So I started off in college, degree in biology, was wanting to be a physician myself. Ended up starting a couple of companies while I was in college, about 20 years old. It was all aftermarket and motorsports, kind of Fast and the Furious type stuff.
Nice.
I decided I wanted to try and own a plane one day, so I chased business instead of my education. I ran that for 7 years, and then I one day decided I didn't care about cars. So I had to change gears, if you will.
Yes.
And I wanted to find a space that I could capitalize on the skill set that I had built running my own business, and get back to what I found interesting, which was technology and medicine and science. And I found this business. I started off as a sales rep for Zimmer Biomet in spine, and I ran that for about 2 years. And it got to a point where I was doing most of the work and taking the smallest piece of the pie. Yep. And I had run my own business before, so right. I didn't need help on that side. And so I started my own distribution business. Ran that for a few years until I met Travis. And, we combined our forces, if you will, and really exploded since then. And it's been incredible. And I guess this newest venture of ours is, something we're diving into head first, and something that we fully believe in, and just it's the next iteration, I guess, of what business, that we feel that we can bring to this market to solve a real problem.
I love that. you know, I also come from spine, as you know, and I think it provides for a lot of experience to do things later, like building your own, whether distributorship or business. And so, um, can certainly hear what you all are saying there and understand that. Um, okay, so I agree that what I love is hearing about the unmet need of the talent that you need as you started to grow up the distributorship. We've all been there. I've had to hire, and there isn't, at least before MedRep Academy, there hasn't been in my mind anything that gets these candidates ready for the OR, for surgeon relationships, for the dynamics of this job, which are very complex, very demanding, and there's a lot of things out there. And let's address that, because I want, like, every day it seems like there's a new course or break-in person, guru, that's trying to help these people get in, because it's a great field. Like, we've all benefited from it. But address, like, what makes this different? Like, why is this different than anything else anyone sees hit their LinkedIn feed or whatever? Because
Yeah, I think, look, I appreciate, there have been a number of other options emerge,
Yep.
Especially over the last 2 years, I would say. And on one hand, I appreciate what they're trying to do. They're trying to help people get into this industry that we love, and I think that's wonderful, right? But I think that the way in which we go about it is what matters, and the way in which we go about it is why we started MedRep Academy. MedRep Academy exists because of all of the other options, right? This is the only option that actually gives you a real look into what actually happens in a day-to-day life of somebody that's in medical device sales. We put you into the live operating room. We put you into the field to build the skill set and begin to learn the things you need to know to actually contribute to a team on day one. Those are things that are actually happening to you inside of our course. And to me, this is a trade. This is like welding. This is like electrical work. You have to learn it by doing it. And you can't simulate it. You can't stick on a VR headset. You can't read a book about it. You can't watch a video. All those things help, but they're secondary, they're tertiary to the real world experience of standing inside of an OR, having the lights be bright, and going in there and being able to deliver. And that cannot be simulated in any other way other than in real life, right? And so that is why our school exists.
I love that. And I think we've talked about this, Jake, when we first started chatting. I have it in my notes of an academy that needs to be about bringing these reps or people into the OR. And so, like, when I heard about this idea, I'm like, yes, finally, like, this is where I feel something needed to happen. How did you bridge the gap between, right, like, the surgeons and like talk to me about that environment? But I want to hear from both of you all, like, working with surgeons to educate and get these people, because I think that's a big hurdle. And whatever you can share, like.
I mean, I would say when we started putting the idea together and started brainstorming, throwing things out, I can think back to the beginning of my career. There was a physician in Huntsville. His name's Larry Parker. He's a very busy orthopedic spine surgeon. And the time that he spent with me as we built a relationship real early on, he taught me, and he let me come into clinic with him. He let me learn in clinic. He went through films with me, taught me how to read, X-ray, MRI, along with, the Medtronic training program. He would talk to me during surgery. He would be under the scope a lot of times. He would let me come into some of his microdiscectomy cases, so I could see what all he was doing. The time that he spent with me was invaluable, and he was really the only one that did that with me. And I think that that's something that most people don't ever have. Usually when you start out the traditional way is you go to a training class with let's say you take a job with one of the larger companies, you go to their training class, right? You'll go for a maybe 2-week period, you'll go for a 1-week period. You have some self-study stuff when you show up. It's heavy anatomy and it's heavy just product information on their products. The actual surgeon interaction and the actual learning from the physician is very little.
Yep.
But I could remember when the surgeons did come into those training classes and how powerful it was. I remember a radiologist coming in that taught us, about spine film, reading MRI, reading CT, reading X-ray, what you're looking for. You can look at a book, you can look at all these other things.
Yeah.
Have a surgeon sit there and be able to ask questions and teach you is the most powerful thing that I had in my career. And I'm right around 25 years now in my career, and so we wanted the prospective students. The biggest thing was to learn from us and our experience, but to learn from the physician, and that's something that's the most unique thing about what we offer. There's nothing else like it.
Yeah, I have a similar experience. I want to hear your experience as well, but I also learned from a surgeon, Glenn Harper, a neurosurgeon, who just, as you described, takes you into the environment, the differential diagnosis, like here's what they're looking for, bring me into the clinic where he's observing the films, he just, does the physical examination, and then it comes time for the solution. And it's like, sure, we can learn the anatomy and we can learn like about our products, but it didn't click until I started thinking in terms of pathology and treatment for me. That's when my success unlocked as a rep and did all the things that I ever wanted to do. But the surgeons, they all come from this environment, residency, fellowship. And a lot of times, if they're not in a teaching institution, they don't have an outlet for that. That's how they learned, and they're taking care of patients, changing lives, healing lives. They have no one to. And so if you can be the recipient of that knowledge, like you were, Travis, like I was, like that's a gift, but it's rare and it doesn't always happen. So you've figured out a way to productize that.
Yep.
Tell me about your vision and where that kind of came and how you took it into an actual curriculum and a course and where we are today with the Academy.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same journey that you guys kind of both detailed, right? I mean, I actually broke into this industry. I skipped the associate phase, which for spine is, in retrospect, not safe.
Not advised.
It's not safe, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't know that going in. I was the new guy, right? And so I jumped into this role with limited knowledge, limited experience, and I was expected to deliver. So I was a very unpleasant person, I would say, for the first 2 years of my career, because all I did was study and prepare, and I was wound as tight as you could be, right? But same thing. I had two physicians, a neurosurgeon, Daria Adewumi is Emory trained, and a friend of mine now, his name's Andrew Cordista, Hopkins trained, that really both of them took me under their wing, right? And they, same thing, they took the time to answer my questions and show me things they could show me and let me come into non-instrumented cases and really just help me understand, and to your point, connect the dots between pathology and treatment and the way in which we do things. And so that experience, I wouldn't have made it without that experience, right?
Yeah.
I literally had no one else to teach me, right? And so these guys stepped up and did that for me. And so that, and when we started kind of spitballing and figuring out how are we going to make this a thing, to us that was paramount.
Yep.
That, like, there's hundreds of guys like us. We exist all over the place, people with tons of experience, good teachers, but like to be able to really elevate the program and take the student experience to the next level, we had to give them what we got, right? And that's the pedigree I think that we're trying to create for our students.
Take me into the world, because we've had a ton of conversations as we partnered together with MedTech Voice to help MedRep Academy, right, grow, because I believe that this is good for the industry. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. But you talked about the surgeons are really excited to be a part of this. Take me into that and share with the audience a little bit more about that, because I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, a lot of these, this is how they learn.
Yeah.
They learn by doing. They learn by learning under their peers, right? And being shown how to do things and taught how to do things and walk through those things. And so I think you go 10 years of schooling in a way that you interact with information and you learn new things, and then boom, you're caring for patients and that is over, right? Unless you're in academics, right? And so as we've kind of built these partnerships with our surgeon instructors, dude, they've come alive. Like I've seen some physicians that we have that are, we'll call them men of few words.
Yes.
Just blossom, right? In the OR. I mean, like more words than I've ever heard them say in their whole life, right? In our relationship. And they've really just taken to being able to impart some of that wisdom and knowledge into somebody who is generally and genuinely curious, right? And I think we all like that a little bit, right? When somebody comes to you seeking knowledge, and you can deliver that to them. I mean, our surgeons have really really enjoyed it, I think, and they're excited for the next iteration of this school, and as it continues to grow, more and more students.
I thought about something. These surgeons are taking an active role in the training and preparation of the candidates or of the students, and preparing them for their eventual job. You all have 100% placement of every student that that has gone through the program, which I love. I think the surgeons are also probably like realizing that that's a small world. Like that student is going to be in the room of maybe one of their peers. And are they taking a little bit of that, like that ownership in terms of making sure that they're ready? Because at the end of the day, it's a patient on the table. And we all know that that's why we're all here. It's not a question. It's just come the realization of like how important this is. And the surgeons are taking an active part in the preparation.
Yeah, they've bought in. They really love it, like Jayke said. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is centric to us in the way that we teach our students is patient first, right? And I think when you see the students kind of take that on and embody that, it aligns them with the physician. And I think when you've got everybody kind of rowing the boat in the same direction, you really get some of that pull through and some of that buy-in, like you said, for the surgeon, for the long-term success of these students. And yeah, I think at some point, I mean, these surgeons might end up with one of our students in their room as their rep, right? And I think that they are taking ownership of that.
They know how important the rep is, and I think that they're definitely investing in the growth of each person. The rep is important. They're putting the trays up. The patient is relying on the trays being put up correctly. The physician's relying on having the correct tools. There's so many factors involved in the care of the patient. The physicians know how important the rep is.
So why is the OR not the place to learn from zero? Like, I've had some questions on that as I've started to help weave in the story of MRA of like, well, yeah, you just like I learned from the surgeon in the OR, and as we've all talked about, we have as well. But there's something to the preparation, like hitting the ground running. Like, why is the OR not where you want to learn?
There's too much on the line. I mean, you think about the importance of having what you need, of the importance of knowing what your system does. Mistakes can be super costly, and not monetarily. I mean, patient's health. And so, if we don't know, the correct torque, if we don't know the correct, way to use the device, and we give bad advice to a physician, it can completely harm the patient. So there's just too much on the line. And I always tell these students from the beginning, you can spend years. And I think one of the physicians that's going to be coming in here this afternoon, it took me 6 years to get in with him. And I tell my reps, and we tell the students in the school, it can take you years to have the opportunity to work with one of these physicians. It can take you one bad outcome to lose it all. And so there's just too much on the line, first of all, for the patient's health and care. Second of all, for the surgeon and their reputation. And then thirdly, your organization and yourself. And so there's just too much on the line to learn on the fly.
It's a big risk.
I mean, what other profession do we put people into the brightest stage without any preparation or training? None.
There isn't.
I mean, the operating room is the absolute pinnacle of medical profession. I mean, the surgeon's in there, he's at the top of his space. Like, we're in there, we're doing our thing, and it's like we're just going to dump somebody in and say, good luck.
Yeah. The surgeon has gone through 6 to 7 years of residency, fellowship, and then board collection. I mean, there's a process there, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But that's a great point. There isn't another profession where you would put them into the Super Bowl without learning how to put on their pads.
No.
Yeah, I'll give you a great example. I remember we used to do thoracic fractures. We used to go through the thoracic cavity, put a lung down. I was in a surgical case. It was when I was an associate rep at Medtronic. I was about a year in probably. I was in this case by myself, covering this case Well, the senior rep had set up the case, and they had sent all these trays in. There was so many trays, and he tried to take the, you know, 5 trays and turn them into 3 or 2 or 3
Consolidate.
trays.
Yeah.
He left out the
Oh
inserter
my gosh.
for the expandable thoracic cage. And so I'm sitting there looking at the tray, and I'm texting him or calling him, because it was before we had pagers at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was paging him, and he called me. I said, "Where is the inserter?" And he said, "It's there." And I said, "It's not here." And so he ran home, got it. I told the physician what was going on. He was not happy. But imagine if we had gotten to the point, and we ended up getting it there. Those are long cases. The cardiothoracic surgeons going in, going through the ribs. I mean, it's just a long procedure. So we ended up having enough time to get the instrument ready. But we are trying to avoid anything like that. And I think if you have correct training, you care enough, we do a good job of filtering the right people for this course, we can avoid that with these, reps, mistakes like that.
That brings me up to my next question. Who is this for? Who is MedRep Academy for? Who are the right candidates? You've placed some. We have a cohort. You have a cohort at the end of the month, August 31st. And so who are you looking for? Who's ideal in your eyes?
Yeah, I think that, as Travis mentioned earlier, he and I couldn't be more different, right? And I think even you sitting at this, on this couch across from us, also probably very different than the two of us.
Yes.
And so I think what I've learned in my career is that there's lots of different ways to skin this cat, and many different kinds of people can be successful. One of the things, and I think why our partnership works, is, who we kind of are at our core. We speak the same language. And I think the two things that we really look for are intrinsic motivation, right? If you wake up every day and you need to do a good job because your soul demands that of you, I can teach you anything, right? And then the second thing is, I think in any business where a lot of money is on the table, you kind of attract some maybe less than ideal kinds of people, right? And so for us, and what is important to us is we want people with a good moral compass and integrity. And so we believe that, like, at the end of the day, if you have that intrinsic motivation and your compass points north, you're somebody that we can not only help break in, but we're interested in helping you become a long-term successful person in this space. And that's who we ultimately want to spend our time with, and give what we've learned to. And at the same time, our physicians, they don't want to teach somebody who doesn't want to learn. Exactly. They don't want to teach somebody who's not willing to show up early. And so that's important to us. And so when we find those two things, any other shape, size, creed, color that these people come in, it doesn't matter to us.
That's well said. Travis, anything to add on that?
I mean, I would just say that there are some key factors. I mean, organization's a key factor. Definitely the integrity piece, definitely intrinsic motivation, self-motivation. I was a former athlete. I knew what it took to be successful. The amount of time that I spent practicing and working on my body to be a professional athlete, like, it's crazy how much time. My girls play tennis now. My son's a college baseball player. The amount of time they spend on court or in the weight room or whatever, it's crazy. So you got to have that. You got to be organized and be on time. There's just so much demanded in this job. So we try to train them on those things. Once we find the intrinsic motivation and the integrity piece, now we train them on this other stuff. And I would say for myself, I genuinely love seeing people succeed. And I have a baseball academy here. It's high school age, the top players in the Atlanta area for baseball. Myself, and I have a business partner in it. I make nothing on it. I bring home $0. I do it because my kids went through it, this whole thing where they wanted to be collegiate baseball players, and I thought it could be done better. But I love seeing these people succeed. And the phone calls, the texts. I just got a text. Two of my former players from 3 years ago were playing against each other in the Appalachian League in West Virginia area. and they sent me a picture at 11 o'clock p.m. after the game, and they are having success. And to me, that is very meaningful. It brings you joy. And to me, my hope is that these students have success and they hit us back and say, thank you, because that brings joy to you.
This morning, we got a text from one of the guys that hired one of our students from the last cohort. He sent us a picture of his Rep Scrubs badge, check-in time 5:55 a.m. And he was like, love the check-in time, boys. Like he's showing up early for a 7:30 case.
Love it.
So we look for those people and we try to instill in them those values, right? Of what makes you successful and how you kind of set yourself apart.
You just hit on something. I'm not here to throw shade on the other break-in courses or people, but their whole goal is just to get them in. It's just break in. Guaranteed we're going to get you in. We're going to break you in. That's not your goal. Your goal is to prepare them for long-term success in the industry. That's aligned with me and my ethos and like why I'm here, what I'm trying to help you all do. But that's how it should be, because I firmly believe that the patient deserves it, that the surgeon deserves it. And I think that's why, one of the reasons why this is going to be the next thing for people to prepare themselves for this industry. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, our entire goal is to place these people, but we want successful people. Yeah. And so we filter the candidates that come through. We want successful people. At the end of the day, if we make a bad hire as distributors or any other distributor around the country or any direct rep hire, it is very costly if you make a mistake with a hire. Mm-hmm. The time that you spend costs you money. The money that you spend on their income, or their salary or their commissions cost you money. You are taking a associate rep or somebody brand new into customers that you may have spent years to develop. Yep. And your reputation's on the line. This thing is so costly, and it is so hard to get customers in what we do. Mm-hmm. A mistake is super costly, and we are trying, us as distributors, how can we limit this risk? Mm-hmm. And selfishly, we even talked about, look, if there's somebody that's a straight up all-star, we're gonna take this person.
Sure.
And so we want to hire all stars. Yeah. And so even if we don't have an opening, somebody's getting an all-star. And our hope is that every person, as we filter all these candidates, is going to be a legitimate success out there for somebody that's hiring, the company, the manager, the senior rep. We want success.
I also think that, like, when you talk about break-in, what does that mean?
I hate the term.
Right? Like, okay, so you've gotten a job here. But, like, if you go through some of these courses that don't actually offer you any real experience in the job that you want, what if it's not the job that you want? What you spent this money, you spent this time, and you're like, holy cow, this is not what I thought it was, right? Or you go through this course and you get a job, and then it's kind of like a house of cards. You don't actually have any skills. You don't actually have any experience. You're starting over on day one, right? And so for us, like, we're going to help you get a job. But, like, what we do is help you contribute to a job when you get that job. Like, you're going to come into your job on day one, and your teammates and your manager and the operating room in which you're working in is going to look at you as part of the team, not the guy that's standing in the corner just as a liability.
That's right.
Right? And like, that is short-term success, right? But then, to your point, like, the way that this school is going to be successful and the kind of people that we are long-term winners, right? And, like, the way that the school is going to be successful is when our people go on and they hit their quotas and they come out and they get promoted and they hire students from our school, right? And so that's the kind of people that we're trying to bring through our school and then put out into the space. Like, break-in is great. That's the bottom rung of what is expected from courses like ours, right? We are trying to take to the next level, and we're trying to create a new category of associate for that break-in, but so that they can actually start returning on the investment that employers make in them when they have their job.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, you're preparing them for this life. obviously LinkedIn, that's how we've connected. I made a post years ago around how this life is not glamorous, and it went a little bit nuts. It went viral, so to speak, because people see or hear medical sales and they think that it's some alluring, sexy job. While it can be very exciting to be shoulder to shoulder with some of the brightest people on the planet, right? Surgeons, and help in a small way them treating those patients, super fulfilling. A lot of rewards come with that, not financial, but it is a really difficult job. You have to be committed. You have to be all in. I mean, we all know this.
Well, Jayke has a great line whenever we're interviewing people, and we like to ask them, what kind of money they want to be making a year, 3 years, 7 years in. And and we say, what's a silly number, And so he always has a great line for people about what this business can give to you, because it can be very rewarding.
Sure. I mean, I think what I tell people is this isn't a job. This is a lifestyle, right? And if you want all of the things it can give you, be willing to have things taken away, right? Like it'll take your sleep. It'll take some time with your family. It'll take your time in the gym. It'll take your nutrition. It'll take a lot of things from you, right? I think it'll stretch you and grow you to be able to have some of those things back, but it will give to you things in return, right? You can change your life financially. You can change the life of your family financially, right? And there aren't many places, I think, left where that's truly possible. I think it will give you a skill set that nobody can take away from you, right? This craft is something unique, and you can't just buy it. You can't download it from a website. It's something that you have to go out and curate and create. And it gives you the opportunity to change lives, right? Like the job that we do every day, people can die if I do it wrong, right? But they also have the ability to regain walking or sensation in their legs. And like, I get to do every day a job that serves more than my own bank account. And that's purpose-driven work to me, and that's important, right? And so I think that's not the side that people see when they think med device. They think golf courses and days on the boat and yeah, I'm going to make six figures. And it's like, but you don't see you don't see the 4 years I didn't take a vacation. You don't see the nights till 2 a.m. and the backup at 4 a.m. and driving, 300 miles to get a set that I needed to get it back. Like, you don't see all that, right? That's the side of this business that people don't describe. And I think that's why it's important to live it before you get into it.
I love it. Well said. Let's pivot into distributors. So, and I resonate with what you said earlier around having a bad hire. I've had a bad hire from probably the most well-known college, if you will, for these medical sales aspiring people. She had good intentions. She had a good attitude. She was completely overwhelmed, and it was a liability. Every single day was a risk. And I have a visceral response when I hear about, people coming in and they have this certificate. I'm like, well, that doesn't mean you're ready. She was relieved when 6 months later, we had to let her go. Like she knew that this was not for her. And that's to your point earlier, like, how do you know that this is ultimately what you want to do? So as distributors, you guys have to build talent and find people. What if other distributors now come to you? Can you talk about like the pipeline and, where you see this going? Because cohorts coming up, next cohort's August 31st starts, and not all those people are going to be placed in your distributorship. So like, are you having those discussions where people are like, hey, when you have a candidate, let me know? Like,
yeah, for
talk
sure.
about maybe this can scale pretty nicely. I think we know that. You know that.
Sure.
Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we placed all those students in our first cohort. Since we began really marketing the business, which was at the end of our first cohort, and partnerships with like what we have with you, the phone calls and the emails keep coming in, right? And it's a great problem to have, to be able to say, I have no students left for you to hire, right? But I think, part of what brought MedRep Academy to life was the problem that we experienced as employers. There's no way to find somebody who knows they want to be here, knows what this is the right kind of person and then has experience. That doesn't exist, right? And so there's a ton of noise out there. Like you said, everybody wants to be in this space. And so as we've continued to market the business and help people understand, like, look, we know what 30 live surgical cases means. If you're in it, you understand that, right? And what that can mean. We know what learning from physicians, what the value of that is. Like, we all sitting at on these sofas understand that, right? And so there's other people out there like us, right? And so as we've continued to get the word out, as our students have continued to get out into the field and begin to work, people understand, and they're calling and saying, I need to de-risk my hires. I need to have hires that are ready to go on day one, and they're asking for it, right? And would love to give it to them, but we didn't bring enough students through our first cohort, and they've all been hired. So obviously that was best case scenario, right? And we hope that as time goes on, the understanding of this thing that we're building continues to grow, and that the preparation of our students continues to meet the expectation of what employers need.
Yeah. And we've had great response from the distributors and the companies that have hired our people. So one of our students who's a rep here in this area in Atlanta, he's covering complex cases on his own. He's only a few months in either.
Great.
So pretty cool.
That's what it's all about. I mean, we've talked about this earlier, but maybe address this a little bit differently, because I think that, historically, you look for either military or athletics or some sort of a background that that the hiring manager or sales rep or distributor will assume that person has discipline, maybe integrity, intrinsic motivation, preparedness, organization, all those things. But athletics and military doesn't always translate to maybe the intangibles of this job, the interpersonal skills that it takes, or whatever that looks like. Just managing surgeons who are very difficult as a customer, very demanding. What can you share about like your curriculum or how you're handling that element of this job, which is like every single person you interact with, it's a different maybe personality type, and that's hard to.
I would say one thing first, and that is, when I was younger in this business and I hired people, I always tried to hire people that were like me, and it was a disaster for me. And I would say,
how so? Sorry to interrupt you. Why was it a disaster?
Because I think that having different types of people is good. And if you look at the customers, they're so different. And so, what is it that made me successful? I think it's being confident, hard work. I'm always, there on time. If I'm laying there in bed at night at 2 a.m. and I think that I didn't do something right, I'm getting up right then and I'm going to the hospital. I'm checking to make sure my stuff's lined up.
We've all done it.
How many people are like that? There's not many. So I was always trying to look for that. I was looking for ex-athletes, like you said. I was looking. So yes, there are some qualities of those that work, but I have learned, and if you look at our sales team, I mean, it is all types of different people, and it works.
It's great.
And so, I think that I've gotten significantly better. As far as what we do for those people in the class, I would say that we do spend a few weeks on the sales training side. I've spent full days with them. Jayke is one of the best teachers I've ever seen, teaching anything. And the ability that he has with the students is incredible. But we definitely spend time with them on the sales piece, the interview piece, prepping them, teaching them how to interact with the surgeons, what the surgeon is looking for when they have interaction. And so we definitely spend some time. I would say it's late in the course. I think a couple people got hired before we even got to that point.
Yeah.
One of the companies went ahead and said, hey, let this person finish up. We want them to finish before they come over. But yeah, I mean, we definitely spend some time with them on that. You got something to add there?
I think that, to your point, we've typically thought of in med device, we hire athletes, we hire military, and that for a long time has worked. Because why? Because it's the safe bet, right? We believe that that training, that whatever they did before, will translate into this space. But part of what I think is important about what we're doing is I am none of those things. I'm not an athlete. I'm not military. I mean, haircut is one thing, but like people who are high performers are out there. Some of them just need a chance, right? And they need an opportunity to learn and to experience it, right? And so how do you find those right people? And then how do you explore what their strengths are, right? And so how do you teach the interpersonal skills? Well, you bring them into the OR and you watch Travis or myself interact with a staff. You watch them. Some of the cases that we teach in, we are also the vendor, right? And so they watch us set up a room. They watch us work with a scrub tech. They watch us conduct the orchestra, if you will, right? And like all of that is something you can't learn unless you see it, right? You have to experience that to understand it. I can't get up at a podium and explain it to you. I can't let you watch a video and have you understand it. You have to stand there and watch it happen, right? And like those skills are in a myriad of different people, right? It's not just athletes, it's not just military, it's all different kinds of people. And it's unlocking those things is what we're after, right? Like, let me show you how this works. And if it's in you, you'll get it, right? And you'll be able to build upon that skill set. And I think, is it built into the curriculum? Yes, we go through some of the sales training, we go through all of that. But again, part of it is just living it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's also a legitimate thing to say that for hiring companies, distributors, managers out there, we can cut off, and I'm saying conservatively, 4 to 6 months. I mean, this person is ready to roll when they show up. Now, can they cover complex cases and things like that? I'm not going to make that claim, but we can cut off 4 to 6 months conservatively on where that person would be when you hire them.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So part of our structure, right, is the physician's teaching. And so before every case, a surgeon meets with our students, goes through x-rays, MRIs, films, talks about the case plan, patient's pain, what we're trying to do. During the case, the physician is essentially narrating what they're doing. They're letting the students ask questions. They're really engaging the student, whether the case lasts 45 minutes or 7 hours, right? Then after the case, the physician meets with the student again, debriefs, how'd the case go? How do we deviate from plan A? How could the rep have been better? All of these things, let you ask questions that you didn't understand, right? So we think about that in one case, right? How long do we think that the student interacted directly with the physician? An hour, 2 hours, right? So let me ask you this question. In the first 3 months of this course, right? And you go through your 30 cases interacting with these physicians. Let's just say the student gets 40 direct hours speaking and conversing with physicians. How long did it take you to amass that in your career working?
Years.
And we condensed that into 90 days, right? And so like to Travis's point, we are shaving time, not only on the employer side for development of their reps, but like nobody's getting into this industry to make associate rep money.
That's right.
They want to make territory rep money. They want to be account managers. And so if we can condense that associate time period and let them raise their ceiling for income by going through our course, that is what we're after, right? Like, and so I don't know. I mean, give me your thoughts on that.
I think it's brilliant. And you bring up a really good point, a couple of good points. I spent 4 years in B2B sales. Like that was my track. I was a high school athlete, so I don't know if that counts. Didn't play collegiate and but didn't even know that medical sales existed when I was in college and when I graduated college. So I started working at IBM, got a sales job, cubicle, a lot different, but loved sales, loved relationships. Only came to learn and discover about this industry through my wife. We were dating at the time. Her cousin was a Synthes trauma rep. And he took me under his wing, told me about everything, all the little details. Here's spine, here's joints, here's, pharmaceutical, which I had heard of, but just distinguishing and the difference between those. And then it took a year or so networking to break in, right? There wasn't anything like colleges or courses or academies or gurus at that time. There were recruiters, but nothing else. And so I got in. I got a job at Medtronic, just like you, distributorship as an associate sales rep, making significantly less money than I was making in B2B sales, but it was a means to an end. And it took me, I wasn't trusted to have those conversations. I was a fly on the wall. as an associate for about a year. And it took about a year to be, have you ever heard that term, you're good enough to be dangerous? That was me. I was at the point where I was ready to start building up my own territory, moved down to Alston from Dallas, and that's where we live, and that's where it all happened for me. But I actually had to leave companies to get that opportunity because there's not always a geography that's vacant
Or a direct path. Yeah.
or a direct path.
Yeah.
And so your question, I don't know how long it took to get 40 hours. It might have been a few years into NuVasive, which I was a sales rep in Austin for NuVasive for a large chunk of my time, and really that one-on-one access where you can ask those questions, but not penalty free. Like that's the difference is this is beyond training or a school or an academy or education. You're preparing these individuals, these young men and women, or maybe don't necessarily have to be young, but they're ready for this challenge. You're preparing them for ultimately what we do and doing that themselves. And I'm not saying they're going to come out and be placed as a territory manager or a rep, but I love that distinction because it's rare and it's unique.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to congratulate you all on executing the vision. It's a great idea, but there's a lot of great ideas. It's executing on the vision that you had, and both of you have brought this to your surgeons, invested the time and resources to build out the MedRep Academy. And so now we're here, the cohort. Talk to me about like, what can people expect? Like, what's the process, the intake, like maybe whatever you want to share there around that, because I'd love some clarity for anyone interested, or maybe they have people graduating that are looking at a career and this might be a great option. So logistically, what's the process?
Sure. So, I mean, it's our program is selective. Look, the truth is we don't believe this is for everyone.
I agree.
Right. And I think that just because you want to be here or you think you want to be here and because you can pay for it doesn't necessarily mean that this is the place for you. Or maybe I'm not the teacher for you, right? Is maybe a different way to say it. And so the first step, right, is look, this is a massive decision, right? Like this is a tuition that is not cheap, right? This is a big investment financially. This is a big investment of time. This is a big investment of your energy, right? And it's a new career trajectory for your life, right? So it's a massive, massive decision. So our first step, and what we try to do a really good job with is educating people on what it is, what it isn't. And so the first step is usually some kind of phone call, right? Like you can sign up on our website, book a call, and it'll either be Travis or myself or one of our other instructors. So get on the phone with you and have a transparent conversation about what this is, right? We try to put a ton of information on our website. We're trying to put out a bunch of content to really give people an understanding and a feel for what this is. So step one is book a call. Make sure that you have all of the information that you need to be able to make a major life decision, right? And then step two, talk to your people. Talk to the people inside your decision-making network. Talk to other people in the industry. Ask them what they think about a program like this, right? And then make a decision, right? Like if this, you're like, yes, heck yes, this is what I want to do, apply, right? Then apply. And at that point, because our program is selective, then we want to learn about you, right? And that's when Travis and I dive in and we look for those two things, right? The intrinsic motivation and the moral compass, right? And we look for different skills and traits, organization, that are going to set people apart and make them long-term successful contributors to a team, right? And so that process is usually 1 or 2 interviews, right? We usually do it via Zoom for convenience. And from there, we make a decision, right? And we either admit you to our academy or we don't, right? And once you're in, and the cohort starts, and we give pre-course work before the course starts because we want everyone to show up and speak the same language, right? Some basic stuff, but yeah, once you're in, cohort starts, and we're off to the races.
So have you had to turn people away?
Yes.
What is that process like? And what's next for them? Because I don't think that they're a candidate right? Ever, like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what happens?
Look, you hate to turn somebody down that wants to be a part of this thing that you've built, right?
Right.
But like at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to the students that we do admit. We have a responsibility to the state of Georgia's Department of Education to be able to put people in jobs and help them be successful. And if we take a look and we do these interviews and we feel like we're not right for each other, then I'll be honest, I don't know what happens after that. But we try to be transparent, we try to be honest, we try to give feedback. And look, we don't have a ton of data. We haven't been around forever. But we'll give whatever feedback we can and help that person along their way, but we just aren't part of their journey.
I would also say, we want excellence. And if we're not hiring the best, or if we're not bringing the best students into this academy, it's not going to be excellent. And to build a reputation, to demand excellence, you have to have something to work with. And I'm not saying that some of the people that we don't admit aren't capable of that. It's just like us interviewing, we are trying to find what we think is the most marketable and going to be the most successful person. And if we demand excellence and expect excellence, who can meet that?
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, I think that it would be wrong to say that I'll get it right 100% of the time. We may pass on somebody who would be an all-star and go through some other way to get in, right? And that's good for them, bad for us. But like, that's life, right?
Yep.
And I think the thing that, I guess I have sayings, as you pointed out, but what I say is, look, to make the best pottery, I need to start with the best clay.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's what we're doing. We're forming these people into extremely proficient and efficient and successful med device reps.
And there's been some tense situations with some of the students along the way.
There have. And look, I mean,
Talk about that. I want to hear it.
I'm a hothead,
Yeah.
If you ever see me coaching baseball I love winning, and I do not like, being halfway.
Yeah.
And so, we had a couple instances of some of the students, whether they were late to class or I
unprepared.
think there was a situation where one MedRep Academy representative, a student, showed up without, the formal worksheets that we use. And the physician turned to me and he looked at me and he said, "Where are those nice worksheets?" And I looked at the student and I said, "Why don't you go back to the office? And why don't you go get the worksheet and then come back for the next case?" And so he left, and I left right behind him, and I met him at the office, and I told him what was up. And if he wanted to stay in the class, we're going to do things right. We demand excellence. We expect excellence. And that is not meeting the standard, So, that's a good example. We have to, if we are putting these people out there and somebody's hiring these people, we have to, it has to be represented the correct way,
End of the day, you did them a favor.
And that's why we're filtering people. Yeah. We want to find the right people.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Travis and I have both trained many reps to be great reps. We've just never done it in a formal structure before, right? And so at the end of the day, anyone that we bring through this school, it's MedRep Academy, but Travis and I are putting our own name on this person.
Of course.
Right? And you're a representative of me, you're a representative of Travis, and this work that we do in our business and our distribution business and everything else that we do. And that means something to both of us. And we will push our people to get them where they need to go. And it may be uncomfortable, but what good things have we ever done that were easy?
Nothing.
Right? And so that's okay with me if there are days that are hard.
Yeah.
Right? There are going to be days in this business that are hard, right? And we think exposing our people, our students to that early is important.
No, well said. Literally, a massive reason why I'm sitting here is because I align with everything you guys do and what you said. And ultimately, you're doing something that the industry needs, that we've long had a void here. This was an unmet need from your distributorship. Back when I was hiring and building a team and building out a team in Alston, this would have been a great resource for us. Yeah, I just think it's incredible. So let's close with, where do you see this going? We talked about where we are. talked about where this started and kind of both of your journeys. Nobody has a crystal ball, but what are you hoping happens?
I think what we've created is the most unique training experience anywhere, and is we are specialized in orthopedics, right? I mean, extremity, spine, uh, uh,
Foot and ankle.
foot and ankle, and joints. And so we're looking at, we have created the most unique thing. And something I was thinking about as we've been sitting here talking. Most of these companies, when they engage physicians to teach, the physician looks at their calendar. They say, okay, I have to give up an afternoon to travel. I got to give up a full day of teaching. And then they're going to want to take me to dinner while I'm there and schmooze me over. And then I'm going to come back and, while they're having a training class. So the physician has to give up all this time to go there. Now, are they reimbursed? I mean, are they paid for their time? Yes, but it's not in their natural setting.
Comes at a cost.
And what we have learned with the people that we, work with here is some of these physicians would not be gifted at going to a training class and standing up in front of a podium and teaching. But we have put them in their natural environment, and they have, it's incredible, the different personalities of the physicians and how well each of them has taught these students. It's actually kind of mind-blowing. We've laughed about it a couple of times with some of the personalities and how good they are at teaching. And I don't think they would be great at it if they were sent to, some company in the Northeast or out West and their headquarters, and they're in a, in an auditorium teaching, and they're having put up slides. These physicians are in their natural environment teaching these students, and it is incredible. And so I wanted to just say that before we move forward. As far as the vision that we have, we would love, in the future to maybe have regional, sites, and we've talked about that. So it'd be nice to have a few regional sites around the country. We have to first prove it here, and we've been doing that. And so I think our vision is to continue to bring in the top talent, which is what we're trying to do now, and why this made sense for us to all sit down to get the word out. And I think that that's what we're trying to do now. I think that we've proven the model now. I think the model is proven. And so as far as vision down the line, what do you have to add to that?
I think it goes in two directions. I think 100% there will be multiple campuses across the country, make it easier for students all over this country to find their way into our academy, right? And I think in putting students through the academy who are looking to break into this business, we're creating a new category of associate candidate. And I think that will be the new standard. I just because it's the way we've been doing it doesn't mean that's the way we should do it, right? I think that's a quote I took from you. And so my vision is this is the new way this is done, right? Like, you want to get into this business, put your own money where your mouth is, put your own time, on the table here, and earn it, earn your opportunity, right? And we want to bring that to this business because that's what we as employers want. That's what our other reps who are already on our team, they want somebody who can come in and contribute and add value to their team. And I think the other direction that this goes is, for associates who are already hired. Like, we don't have a training program that I can send my new hires to for 3 weeks or 6 weeks to get them up to speed.
And we have a sales force of 17.
Yeah, and we've just been ham and egging it, trying to figure it out, right? And now with this academy and the way that we're set up, I had a distributor call me last week and say, hey, I'm gonna send you 3 of my reps who I just hired for spine and foot and ankle cases. And great. I'll put them in the room. Let surgeons train them. Let them learn the way we all learned, right? And then you're going to get back this rep who you already found value in, right? You already thought had the personality for this and the skills you needed. And we're gonna help them develop, I don't know, 6 or 8 months in 6 weeks. Like, what value does that bring to you? I know what value it would bring to me in our distribution business to send a rep out for 6 weeks and get back somebody who's teetering on a year of experience, right? Just dangerous enough, right? Like, that's that's where I think this is going, is it's, this other path
Yeah.
for the independent distributor or the small market manufacturer, right, who maybe doesn't have a well built out training program. And I think it kind of can fork into both things. It can be and or it can be both, right? And so I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah. No, I share that vision with you. I think we've talked a little bit about that. Like, this is a great way to get the skills you need to do this job successfully. And it de-risks. So I don't look at these as a cost. It's an investment. This is an investment in your future, whether it's you've hired someone and this is how you're going to train your new associates, or if you're a student that just either graduated or maybe you've gone through one of these courses that had a bunch of promises and no delivery on ultimately what you intended, which is to have a long, successful career, as we've all had in this spinal orthopedics world, which is incredible.
Knowing what I know, I would definitely spend the money. You think about too, if somebody goes to college, it's not cheap these days, and it's hard to get into some of the top schools in states, even if you're highly qualified.
Yeah.
Fraternities, sororities, and the cost of that.
Oh, yeah.
All the other ancillary stuff you spend money on. I mean, to me, this investment and what it can bring you potentially is, it's small, is what I would say.
Do you take people that don't have a college degree? Just curious on that, because I've seen both sides
question.
of it.
We just had this debate last night. We took a guy for this next cohort that has only an associate's degree, and we require, quote unquote, we like to require a bachelor's degree, for the only reason being that our employers usually require it. And so if my job is to help people get a job, then that seems like a reasonable requirement. However, you ask about vision. I think that, as I mentioned, this is a trade.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a 4-year degree to weld. You
Yep.
don't need a 4-year degree to be a plumber, right? Like, I think that there's a world where you can skip college. I mean, we don't know what college is going to look like in 5 years. There's a world where you can bypass that. Come to me for a year and I'll get you ready, right? And I think that is a world where we really open up doors for people by giving them true experience.
I mean, look at the information that's out there now. Look at all the people graduating college that can't even find jobs.
It's real.
Even from top schools, top programs.
Yes.
It's just a different world now.
Yeah, no, I actually, I haven't thought about that. But I think that that's an absolute possibility in terms of your trade parallel. This is absolutely an apprentice style trade. And I didn't know that. Of course, I went to 4-year college. I also didn't have a job when I graduated, because I graduated in the dot-com burst in 2002, and there were no jobs. And I got a job at IBM a few months later, but it took me a while. Mm-hmm. And they're just thinking out loud here, like, this is a great solution. If maybe your parent or someone that you know has had a great, long, successful career here, and historically it's been get a 4-year degree, maybe get some B2B sales. At least that's my background. Mm-hmm. And that's probably been repeated before. Go get some sales experience.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Maybe not anymore.
Are you better off doing 4 years of school and 2 years of B2B sales, or doing 2 years of the job you want?
I think it all works.
It can. Works. It has, but like, it's not. I don't think it's necessary.
No, I don't either. Like, and I mean, you think about there's so many people. I have a conversation with one of our clients, big, large orthopedic company, and they've got a guy who hired someone, and he has kind of full reign on who he can bring onto his team. He has both trauma as well as hip and knee extremities, and he said his best performer was a kid from Dunkin' Donuts, tatted up, no degree, but just incredible with people and willing to learn and willing to just has the capacity to take on the information. And yeah, he says, like,
there's
surgeons,
brilliant people in every village in the world, man. I mean,
absolutely,
it's just the way it is.
Yeah, maybe that kid doesn't test on Scantrons well. You know what I mean? Like, he just doesn't, college isn't the format where his brain clicks in, but like, that doesn't mean this isn't.
That's right. I love that. And I think that that's really, really a great option for some people that are in that, they have high potential, but they don't really know what to do with their lives. And this is, I mean, such a great industry.
It's usually what happens about May.
Yeah.
Every single, person I know that has kids graduating, and You know, you need to call, Mr. Alston.
Yeah.
Talk to him, and so everybody that's finishing up thinks they want to get in med device sales and they can't find a job.
And you probably try to talk them out of it. That's what I do.
I do.
I do.
Yeah.
Sometimes, I mean, I shoot them straight. I'm always willing to help.
Yeah.
I always am willing to talk to people. And I think now we have an avenue for them if that's truly what they want.
Yeah.
We have to weed it out
Sure.
if that's truly what they want. But yeah, now we have an avenue for that.
Same here. For years, I hadn't had really anywhere. I don't help people break into the industry, right? I got a lot of other things that I'm trying to do for the industry, and I didn't have a great option. So thank you, because now I do.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited for you all.
And we believe in the people. Look, they got skin in the game.
Yeah.
They're putting their money where their mouth is. They got skin in the game. We've weeded them out. We're finding the best, and we feel like it's going to be successful for both sides.
100%.
Anything else you guys want to share before we wrap up here?
No, we're excited. We appreciate your interest in what we're doing, and I think it's going to be a real game changer for the industry.
I agree. Yeah. Well, best of luck to you in this next cohort, August 31st. You can sign up MedRep Academy. What's the website? The actual URL, medrepacademy.com?
MedRepAcademy.com.
medrepacademy.com/MTV, if you wouldn't mind. But yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, well, we'll know how successful this podcast
Yeah, right.
time we spent here was.
We're going full blown influencer. Well, I appreciate you guys, and really congrats on what should be a great thing for the industry, and
All right.
got my full support.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks guys.
Jay.
Appreciate you.
Sure.